But first, the Aboriginal community of Lake Tyers in East Gippsland is a step closer to taking back control of its land. For the last 6 years, it's been run by a government-appointed administrator. But last month, a group of residents said they'd had enough and stopped government officials entering the community. Jeff Waters reports from Lake Tyers.
It's a tiny community, about as remote as you can get in Victoria. Lake Tyers is freehold land, owned collectively by scores of Indigenous Victorians. For the past 6 years, it's had no form of self-governing council. Everything here is decided by a government-appointed administrator from a Melbourne accounting firm.
It's bad because we don't have a say in what's happening on our land at the moment. The self-determination of Aboriginal people out at Lake Tyers have no say at all.
We went to school here, a lot of the people. They grew up when it was a missionary day, you know, and right up till today, it hasn't changed.
Lake Tyers is very important in the history of Aboriginal government relations because it was the place that the government has always wanted to send all Aboriginal people to. That was their aim, to concentrate all Aboriginal people from all over the state to Lake Tyers.
In 1971, these were the first Aboriginal Australians to be given control of their land.
The Aboriginals living at Lake Tyers have the opportunity to take a major step forward.
We are proud. Look, we won't let this down.
But it appears the community was let down with the unusual system of government which was created. Every resident, adult and child, was granted shares in the trust, which could only be sold under very strict conditions. And an elected board would vote on decisions affecting the community. It worked for many years, but over time, many of the shareholders moved away for reasons including unemployment. They were largely replaced by other Indigenous people who moved in. Then, 6 years ago, the Shareholder Management Committee collapsed.
They went to the government of the day and they asked for support. The government of the day put in an administrator and put in a long-term plan to bring the community back, to allow it to have the social issues rectified and to bring them back into an economic way so that they can be self-determining themselves.
The new Aboriginal Affairs Minister, Janet Powell, inherited that long-term plan.
Why do they need to be economically better off to be able to vote for a council? Why can they not be poor and vote for a council?
Well, I think you're changing the two things. They can vote now. The reason that there was a government in place or a committee of management in place that was disbanded because it was dysfunctional. The people just didn't turn up.
The Australians for Native Title and Reconciliation group views it all differently.
As far as I'm aware, the government has been saying that they put the trust in the hands of an administrator because the community asked for that. And so now it's pretty clear that the community has been asking for it to be handed back, and we just want the government to do that.
Would it be possible for the shareholders to have a vote by computer? And it doesn't matter where they are in the state.
Well, I made that suggestion the other day at the community meeting.
Janie Proctor is a shareholder who lives at Lake Tyers, though due to overcrowding at the settlement, she's forced to live in this converted garage with her husband and 2 children.
I'm telling you, 90% of them shareholders will probably want to come back here.
She was one of several women who started a picket last month when, for a 2-week period, the community briefly wrested some form of self-government by refusing to let the government administrator and manager pass because of what they call a lack of consultation. It worked for a while until the manager and administrator simply drove in, accompanied by police. A Lake Tyers elder and shareholder, Michael Edwards, shows me around what the community regards as a cultural site, where the government has decided to run a new sewage pipeline. It's just one example of a decision made on his land that he had no say in.
We need to get on with life here. That's what I reckon. You know, we've got to get on with it and be happy, you know, and take, you know, we need our freedom.
Mr Edwards, like many others here, say he's grateful that the government is building a handful of new houses for the community. But like many others, he also says they're being built in the wrong place, that the buildings are too close together.
Do you think that if this was a white community we would have this issue?
This is fairly unique in that it's an Aboriginal community where people actually live there, the services are provided there. It is a very unique community. They're very proud people.
The Minister says she has a plan.
What I have done is I'm going to make sure that there are 2 committees of management, one for the shareholders and one for the residents.
Would that work?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The last say should be always up to the shareholders. They're the owners of this land.
I think the Minister is setting too high a bar in her reasons why they shouldn't be handed back the control of the trust. It's as if they need to fix all the problems they ever have had, social problems, before they should have the right to govern. Maybe they should be involved in solving those issues as governors.
And it seems there are strong divisions in opinion here, even among shareholders.
You're leaving right now, all right? You're leaving right now.
As we saw when we were confronted by a man at Lake Tyers who was with the government manager.
I speak great English, don't I? Leave!
We, of course, did promptly leave the settlement. And as we left, the picket at the end of the road into town continued. One small act of defiance from a group of people who may have a long wait before they get any form of self-government. They now say they're planning to take the matter to court.
Who's to say that we haven't finished? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it still is going. The protest is still there.